This video is the steep and shallow flow chart, the shallow version. So we're going to go through the downswing and look at the path of the club. Now in the steep and shallow flow chart or the steep and shallow overview video, I show you that the major movements that are going to cause shallow are going to be right rotation of the arms, so kind of going like that, lifting the arms, so the arms working more this way tend to shallow it out, right side bend and extension, and also right rotation, or having, because it's a downswing movement, less left rotation. So the big ones are going to be right side bend and extension and right rotation of the arms, kind of like that. So now we're going to break the downswing into 3 distinct phases. The middle phase is kind of this little blend between the transition and the release, but we're going to look at the transition, we're going to look at blending transition into release, and then we're going to look at the release, because you may get shallow in 3 different phases. So the top of the swing, if we get shallow in the transition phase, it's almost always going to be a power source issue. At least part of the program will have to resolve around how you're creating speed. So the common one would basically be from the top of the swing, if I go into right side bend and I'm kind of doing a back extension to pull this club down. It's an early extension pattern and it'll look like that right off the bat, and this club will tend to drop inside. But often what golfers will do is, even if I'm going like that, they will use a steep arm movement to kind of balance it out so it's not too steep or too shallow there. But the most common one would be that right side bend too soon, as opposed to regaining your flexion first and kind of waiting before going into that right side bend until during the release. The second phase would be blending that transition into the release. And there's a couple different common patterns that start to get off there. If I haven't started the motorcycle and the club face is coming in an open position, I'll often start that early extension pattern so that I'm going to be able to pull back away to get that club face to slam shut down at the bottom. So it's usually, if I'm getting shallow during this transition or during this blend between transition and release, I'm looking at the club face first and foremost. Then the last section would be looking at the release. And just like the steep version, the release is going to tend to be how I'm organizing the club face, which is going to look a lot at what the arms are doing. Now, in this case, it's typically using the body to get the club face to line up so that I can get the club face to close. It would be very rare for the arms to just want to kind of stay shallow and underneath, because a lot of the movements that are going to shallow the club way down there will also tend to open the club face, so you would tend to struggle with way big blocks and push fades. So if everything looks pretty good here, but then I start to get into a shallow movement there, it's typically going to be that right side bend lift, and it's typically going to be the one that I actually forgot in the intro video, or the intro of this video, which would be the extension of the arms tends to shallow things out. So if I'm getting here and then I extend those arms, that will tend to give that look of the shallow, which will also, because the arms are extending too soon, will tend to stall my body from rotating. So instead of getting into this position and continued rotation and letting those arms extend a little bit later, if I get into a pretty good delivery position and then those arms just go straight from there, it will tend to cause my body to stall. So again, down in the release, we're looking more at the club face and how the arms are contributing to the overly shallow pattern. In transition, we're looking more at the power sources. And then in the middle, we're looking at kind of a blend. It could be either path, it could be face. So if you're unsure, if you have a shallow pattern where you're hitting more of kind of picky contact, maybe even thin shots and shanks, if you're having more of the block hook combo, you want to identify why and when you are starting to get shallow. If you have a hard time figuring it out, you're welcome to submit a video and we can help guide you as to when you're getting shallow and what are some proper drills that might have a good chance of helping you fix it.